One of Israel's top political scientists believes that there are deep social problems in the United States that could get much worse in the period heading up to the presidential elections. Professor AVRAHAM DISKIN told ILTV's Steve Leibowitz that the atmosphere is gloomy and even terrifying.
America is going through quite a bit of trauma in recent days and months involving black young people who had been killed by police, and then attacks against police officers, plenty of rioting in the streets as a result. Could you foresee, you talk about the grand democracy in the United States, a situation where somebody like a Trump gets elected and heads towards the White House, and millions of people take to the streets and just don't accept it?
First of all, it's not going to be unprecedented. You know, I'm an old person, and I remember very well, you know, the atmosphere, for instance, in the 1960s. You know, riots were there. In some states, you know, the National Guard shot at people. And, you know, racism is a very, very deep problem, and there is a gap. You know, if you are Afro-American, your chances, you know, to develop into an established person are much, much lower than to a WASP, an average WASP, and your chances are much higher to get into prison and into trouble. So there is a problem here. It's a social problem. It's a social problem. And I have to say that, of course, you know, some of the incidents that we saw on camera, you know, everybody now has a cell phone and everything is documented, were really terrible. You know, you can say that in some of the cases, innocent Afro-Americans were really executed by white policemen. But on the other hand, you really have to remember that most homicides in the United States have both Afro-American victims and Afro-American assassins, okay? So it's really the social problem here. We also have to remember that white people are also shot to death by the police, and more than Afro-Americans. But the atmosphere is very gloomy. I think it's terrifying. It's terrifying. What I have to say, you mentioned Trump, you know, in his position. You have to distinguish. I really don't know some of Trump's positions because it changes over time and concerning, you know, what kind of audience he has in front of him. But his style is very extreme, very extreme. His stands are not the most extreme in the Republican Party. You know, some of the candidates, for instance, Ted Cruz, who is definitely, you know, someone who knows how to behave, very smart person, etc., holds some views on different issues which are by far more extreme than those of Trump. But I would be quite worried about what's happening in the United States right now. We have a development every day, and the last couple of days with the emails, and it's really terrifying. And you know, the United States is the leader, and the leader of the United States is the leader of the world, especially the free world. And we can only pray that it will develop in the right direction.
Well, I know that some Americans who are not Jewish are looking towards Nova Scotia if Trump is elected, but American Jews, you know, should be looking towards Israel. Professor AVRAHAM DISKIN, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.